So, well, first one I want to do is I know you're from Illinois. This is for the INBA primarily. And can you just tell me your background in Illinois? Because right now you're one of my favorite cities,
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
I know. I love Milwaukee, but I am originally from Mokina, Illinois. So it is a suburb. I'm not from the city of Chicago, but oftentimes you'll hear that a lot. And most of the time it's just because it's easier to say than explaining where's Mokina, but it's a small town. It's probably about an hour 45 from Milwaukee. So for me, it's perfect because it's close to home, but I have my own home here. So I love it. But I grew up in Illinois my whole life. I went to Lincoln Way East High School in Frankfort. I loved it there. My first internship was with ABC 7 Windy City. My boss had segments on the show, so we would produce his segments. Then I had a job at the Tribune in publishing, and then I'm like, no, I got to get back out there in TV. So I'm like, I moved out to Champaign, Illinois at WCIA, and I was there for about 3.5 years, and I absolutely loved it. It was awesome, and throughout my entire career in TV, I've been a part of a morning show in some fashion at every station. So I think at WCIA at Illinois, I was really able to find my spot, find the place I really like. So for me, that's morning programming. And I don't know, ever since then, I've just loved it. But I always say I'm so grateful for Central Illinois because that's really where I got my start and really where I found this very unique passion that I have today. So while I am in Milwaukee, which is my home now, I do love Illinois. My entire family lives in Illinois. So, like every suburb, the city, like everywhere, I have family. So, it is nice to be so close to them.
Yeah, so what's Mokina like? Because I'm from those near suburbs and now I live in the city. So,
Yeah, Mokina, it's just like a nice, little suburban town, and it was really nice to grow up in. All my friends, I had the perfect neighborhood growing up. I was on a cul-de-sac, and everybody was like the same age growing up. We all played together, and it was just awesome. Like I have nothing bad to say about it. I think it was a great place to grow up, and my parents still live there now, so I get to go back to my childhood home all the time, and I just love it. I'm kind of a homebody, as a lot of
oh,
people
really?
in TV were really social for our jobs, but then like, I like to come home and watch a good movie, hang out with my dog and just kind of relax. So I really do love it here though. I gotta say, Milwaukee's great. But yeah, I do love Illinois too. It's basically like the same to me because growing up we would always come to Wisconsin on family vacations. So having the chance to actually live here now is like, wow, this is cool. Now my family wants to come visit me, and that's like a little vacation for them.
Yeah, I love Milwaukee. I mean, I've been there several times. Milwaukee's literally the place I go to for vacation because it's got so much going on, but it's also very manageable, beautiful, excellent food, really nice people, no lines, beautiful lakefront, excellent hotels. I mean, everybody should go there.
Absolutely. And it's not only Milwaukee, you have Racine County. I host this other show in addition to the morning show. It's called Racine and Me. So I literally just have a whole show about the county there, and it has so much to offer. I always try to tell people it's not just Milwaukee. There are
Mm.
so many places throughout Southeast Wisconsin that's like, wow, this is a vacation in itself. Door County, Kenosha, just like never ending good food and good people, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't really see the downside of working here every day. I'm really lucky that I am here. So I never really forget that. I really love it. And ever since I moved here, it's like, wow, this is so easy. This just like feels like home to me. And as you said, it's always so busy. This last weekend, you had Harley Davidson Festival, you had the air show, German Fest. Like it's like never ending.
Yeah. No, so what were you at the Harley Davidson show?
Oh, I don't ride Harleys. Maybe I look like I do. I don't know. But no, I was at the Harley Davidson show. I actually just got back from being out of town, so I was really looking forward to like just a day of catching up on laundry and stuff. As adult and boring as that sounds, it was great to just kind of catch up. Now we do love going to all the events we can. It's just I want to go to Harley, right? Because I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was just bad timing, but I've always heard good things about it, but I've never been on a motorcycle. Have you?
Yes, I love it. In fact, I would probably own one if it weren't, sort of risky. But yeah, I love motorcycles and yeah,
Yeah, I
I would.
love the culture. And there's something about it. I agree with you. If it wasn't risky, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds great, but I'm kind of a scaredy cat. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well, like
good.
my friend said, he's got a motorcycle. He said, it's not you, it's the other people that the other drivers. I'm like, yeah, I'm scared of the other drivers. So
Absolutely, I am. Especially like these days. I mean, we always have reckless driving in our newscast, and I mean, that's everywhere you go. That's in every city. But I swear, I mean, it's happening more and more. I feel like every day, especially in the morning shows, we're always reporting on crashes, and I mean, I totally get it. So to be serious, I mean, he's right. Absolutely.
yeah. Now, so well, there are a lot of things I want to know. Like when you like what's your typical day like?
Well, I get up and it's probably like 2:30 or so and it's dark and I'm like, "Oh no." But I do love it. There is something to it. Like once you get used to the morning schedule, it's kind of just like how you live. And the
Right.
older I get, I'm like the less sleep I can live on. So it's great. I
Yeah.
get up and I wake up and I get ready and then I go to work. We have our show, well, our shift, I should say, starts at 3:30. So I have to be there at 3:30 and then the show itself starts at 4:30. We go until 8 a.m. But so I'll get to work. Like today, for example, usually one of us solo anchors the 4:30. So this is my week, so we do it by week. So I went in, I got ready a little bit more, and then I looked over my scripts, changed things to my liking, kind of said hi to the producers, recorded our eye opener, which is for the 6 a.m., which is kind of like CBS News, if you've seen, they have like a summary in the beginning of their show of like what they're talking about. So each of the anchors will voice one of those pieces over. We record that, and then I went into the studio, did the 4:30, and then the guys, Frankie, Mike, and Justin, we all do the show together. And the show starts at 5 a.m. with all of us. And then it goes till 8 a.m. And we have kind of a sister station. So it'll be on CBS 58, which is DJT, sorry, I get the letters. And then it's WMLW for the last hour. So we always tell our viewers to switch over for the last hour. But we have basically it all. We've changed the format a few times since my time there in the morning show, but we have your news headlines off the top usually. We keep it fun. We have lots of music in the show, trending topics, consumer news, the weather, but we also make time to have a little fun. And like what I love is we really pride ourselves on having people in studio for interviews, whether it's like a local event or, custard. I know we're having custard on tomorrow, so that's one of my favorite days. So just keeping it like fun because I think that's what people need when they wake up in the morning. They need their news and headlines, but they also want to feel like they're watching people that they know, like that they're their friends, that they can just be real. And I think that the four of us do a really good job at that.
Did you know them beforehand before you moved up there?
No, not at all. I mean, actually, it's funny because all of us, well, I think, yeah, all of us. So I was here first as a reporter, and then I got promoted to the morning show anchor position. And there were two spots that opened at the same time. So Frankie and I joined the team. Mike's been here for a few years, and Justin's been here for a few years. So they already have like formed a friendship, but we just jumped right in. And I mean, it's like I have three big brothers all the time, which is
Oh,
kind of cool. And I do love it. Just the dynamic that we have, it's very fun.
nice. And then how do you know what to do? Like, do you have to write anything or what's your role? I mean, you're on the air, so what do you have to do?
So essentially, so I think our main first goal is to read our scripts, make sure there aren't any errors in the CGs, help our producers out in that regard. Like this morning, for example, I saw there was a typo, so I just alerted my co-anchors, via Teams during the 4:30, just in case it was in one of their scripts. Over communicating, I think, is like the biggest thing for me. If I notice something or if I can help out one of my teammates in some kind of way, I'll do that. I try to prioritize scripts. I always want to read a script before I read it on the air. Sometimes if there's breaking news, you can't always do that, which I think is good. It kind of makes you be better at ad-libbing and it makes you have that ability and that skill, keep it sharp. But most of all, I think just going through scripts and changing things to how I would say them. So sometimes, for example, something sounds too official. So I would change it to something that's more conversational. So something that the viewer at home will understand, number one, and that number two, I would actually say out loud if I were talking to you, for example. And then number two, I would say if there's something that we want to put in the shows, I will definitely send it to the producers. I'm always looking for things to put in the shows, whether that's for the next morning or maybe in a week. There's an event in Wisconsin like Shrek Fest. I'm like, we got to talk about this. This is awesome. Love it. For example, today I just sent them a script that I wrote up because this year I'm lucky enough to be in the cream puff eating contest at the Wisconsin State Fair. So Can't wait for that. So I wrote up a little something for them if they want to use it because State Fair starts this Thursday, and then I'll be out there live for the State Fair with our meteorologist Justin, weather pending, of course. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So I think it just depends. Like I do write scripts. I think a lot of it is flow. A lot of our show is conversation. So I try to talk and then I try to not talk. It's about a balance, really. But I think at the end of the day, we're all just trying to help each other have a great show.
And then, so when you're talking on the air, so I've never been on the air on TV, but when you're talking with the other people, do you have a producer telling you to wrap up or how much time you have or whatever?
Yeah. So, yes, always have a producer in our ear. Sometimes, say something's light. They'll say, "Hey, can you guys chat a little bit more in this next block?" So we kind of have an idea going into the block. Hey, we need to be a little more chatty and fun. Or if we're running short on time at the opposite end, they'll tell us, "Hey, keep it short. Don't do goofing off like you do," which we definitely do sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're always in our ear. And then for like longer form segments, like today, for example, I had an interview with the Racine Zoo. Our producer Seth for the 7 a.m. hour was like minute 30. He'll give me every 30 seconds or so, at least every minute. And that really helps us guide, when should we wrap this up? We got to stay on time because I know at my first station in Illinois, I also produced. So I know that that's probably the hardest job, I think, in TV, just to produce, because I know that you're relying on so many other people. And the timing of the show is so important because if you're heavy or light, I mean, it makes you stress out. So I'm always thinking back to my first job in TV and how I could help them today. Because the last thing I want to do as a talent is kind of take the show off course, so much so that it would ruin someone's day or throw off the rest of the show. So I think, yeah, they're really a huge part of how the show is timed and how we act as the talent on the air.
So what was your beginning in TV? You mentioned that briefly.
Sure. So, well, at WCIA in Champaign, I started off as a host of a women's show. It was called Current. And it was like all things women, just basically, it was a very unique opportunity. And I helped produce that show. And then I also was on the morning show there and helped produce segments for the 9 a.m. hour and also anchored that hour. So I'm not joking when I say like the 9 a.m. hour was crazy. Like I would put like dogs, magicians, chefs. We had live music every Friday. Like I loved it, but you bet I was running in heels, like timing the show back and forth because I was my producer. So I think those first jobs in TV really teach you, hey, you got to wear this hat, and this hat, and then you have to remember these skills later on in life when maybe you're the anchor, but you know how it is to be a producer. So you have to be helpful as often as you can. But definitely it was crazy. Like I could not tell you, like there was so much going on all the time, but it was great. Like it kept me running, it kept me excited, and it was a really fun show to start off with my career, honestly. It was great.
So you did start off in front of the camera.
Yes, yes. I was also a producer. So oftentimes I find your first TV job, you do several jobs. So I mean, which, it really does teach you a lot of skills, but in those smaller markets, you basically have to because those are the jobs that are available. And I think it's good to have producing experience in any TV job because then you understand what a producer needs and how you can assist them later on in your career. Should you not produce anymore and you are an anchor, I do produce right now. I do produce Racine and Me, which is the extra show I told you about. So I do still use those skills, which like it's full circle for me because my first job producing that women's show and hosting it, this is like basically the same thing. And it really just came back really helpful in regards to today because I hadn't produced in a while in Nashville. I wasn't producing because after Champaign, I went to Nashville, then I'm here. So it kind of really helped me out in regard to this position when I got handed the extra show. I'm like, producing? Oh man, I'm gonna have to go dig that hat out of the closet. It's been a while, but it was really, really helpful.
Well, what makes a good producer?
I
Or
think
what makes a good
flexibility.
or good producing, I should say.
Sure. I think flexibility is really, really important. I mean, even though you have your show stacked, you've got to be ready to toss that out the window. Like if breaking news happens, you have to be able to throw it in there confidently. And I think that requires the help of your team, whether that's your other producers in the building and the anchors, even. Like there have been times when we've had a live breaking news presser, and me and my co-anchors are typing up the notes from the presser at the desk. And then we recap it. The producer just leaves it up to us. And so I think you have to have that trust with your producer they also have to trust you. So I think that communication, that relationship is so important. And, we'll recap it, and then usually we email out our notes to the entire newsroom. That not only helps out future reporters for the day, but it also helps the producers craft perhaps stories for the rest of the show, or a summary of a VO, or just something to write up for the show. So I think flexibility is probably the number one. I'd say communication is very important. Um, you know, Nothing would be worse than if you're anchoring a show and there's supposed to be something here and you're ready to read it, and now it's just floated, gone, deleted, and no one's told you about it. So I think it's really important to just pop in our ear no matter what and just say, hey, it's floated, it's deleted. These days, you also have Teams and other ways to communicate, which we do utilize Teams a lot. I think our producers do a really good job of letting us know what's going on. They also send daily planners of our shows. So, I mean, we have the entire week of interviews slated every time, what anchor's doing them. So, I mean, there's a lot of planning that goes into it. So I give them a lot of credit for that. So I'd say probably flexibility, communication, and planning, it makes a really good producer.
But how do you deal with breaking news? So when you say you have these things set up for the week, are there open
Mhm.
spaces for breaking news?
Yes. So we only have on a daily basis, we have 3 interview slots, which we really do utilize. There's a 6:45 a.m. Sometimes, actually, I should scoot back on that. Sometimes we do have a 5:10 or 5:30 with the Wisconsin Humane Society. It really just depends. But
Mm.
yeah, give or take, there's 3 to 4 slots every day. So we do have guests that we have in a certain spot, but there have been times when those guests have had to cancel and producers have to fill those 3 or 4 minutes, which can be pretty daunting in the block before this is happening. So I've seen that happen several times. There's audio issues even sometimes, Zoom doesn't always work perfectly. So they have to fill, they'll have packages from our Sunday morning show, get creative with chats. There have been times when they've thrown in some trending stories and they'll say, hey, can you guys chat for a while? And I'm like, of course. So basically, we kind of try to help out whatever that situation is. If it's a press conference of a shooting, an officer involved shooting, we'll watch, like I said, take notes, send those out. Usually our producers are pretty flexible. They'll say, hey, you guys, they'll pop in our ear if this is happening, for example, and say, hey, we're going to take the mayor live. We're going to take the police chief live for about 3 or 4 minutes. And then I want you guys to chat about what happened for about a minute and then toss to break and say we'll have more developing, coming up in the show. So usually that's what happens. And today, for example, we had a deadly crash that one of our producers kept following all morning long, and he was able to get updates all morning long. One of my co-anchors also called about that too. So we do step in when we can and when we have time to help them. But they do a lot of work, and I really do appreciate them.
Well, how do you know how to talk on the fly? That's like, I mean, people on radio tend to know how to do that, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you do it all the time. But I think it's just like a natural gift. I think also it comes with time. So for me, I think specifically, my second job in Nashville really helped me learn how to ad lib better and just go on the fly, because I was a breaking news anchor. So all I did was breaking news for the most part. A lot of the time, I recall this one time I was brand new and I had my story all set up and I was ready to read it off the prompter. And then my assistant news director runs out in the studio, hands me a piece of paper, literally a piece of paper. I don't know what's on it, and says, hey, this is your new hit. This is what you're going to do. Nothing's in the script. And, I'm brand new thinking, oh my gosh, I just want everybody to like me and think I'm doing a good job. What is this about? I have like 10 seconds to read, and this is small fun. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this about? Hi. So, you just have to get into the moment and get better at it as you go along. But for most of my hits in that position, I had no prompter. It was like bullet points, maybe. Sorry, that's my dog. No, Peaches? No, sorry about that. That's my dog. And so basically you just have to get better with time. But like I said, I have no prompter, and I would get breaking news and I would just have to go with it. I would read it, and then I think that job really helped me in today's job, because without that, I probably wouldn't have the confidence that I do when it comes to breaking news. I mean, it's kind of like a formula after a while. You read what you know and then say, we'll have more as we learn more. I think that that's really how I got better at it, because of that second job pushing me through that door that I hadn't had to go through before. So I'm grateful,
that's
really.
incredible because, well, because what's hard about breaking news or speaking on the fly or filling time is being able to be well spoken instead of saying and go backtracking on your words. So how did you learn how to do that? Not to trip up and so forth.
I think it was more about practice. Practice makes perfect for me. And I think confidence comes with time. I think there will be hits, when someone throws you a piece of paper and you're not so sure about what you're about to say, but I think the way you say things is how people can understand information. And I think honestly, over time, I've learned that speaking concisely and slowly and clearly can really help you perform better, but also understand that the viewer can understand what you're saying better as far as breaking news goes. Because sometimes things are so high stress, right? Like I remember I was in Nashville, we had deadly flooding, and I came in that morning and they sent me out. I wasn't planning on going out. They sent me out to a community, Franklin in Tennessee. And I'll never forget this. We were just driving along and looking for, intense situations, maybe houses underwater. And I said, "Oh, maybe turn right. Let's see what's over here." And I mean, I'm not kidding when I say like mansions were underwater to the point where they were sending rafts out to get people out of their homes to save their lives. And this is all happening like this. And I'm just thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is awful. This is like I really hope these people are okay, but also, okay, I have a job to do. I have to report on what's happening. Are they okay?"